this video. That helps with the reach of my videos so much. Today we are going to be talking about the Watts family murders. And I have a ton of notes down here, so I'll probably be looking down a lot. I don't want to forget anything. So today's story begins just outside of Denver in Frederick, Colorado in 2018 with the Watts family. From the outside looking in, the Watts family had it all. And there were a lot of people from the outside watching. Chris and Shanan Watts were kind of like an influencer family. Shanan used her social media platforms to project this perfect family out there for her thousands of followers to see. 34-year-old Shanan Watts' Instagram feed was filled with these perfect, gorgeous, glossy photos of her family traveling the world and making beautiful memories. Shanan was this beautiful, successful wife and mother who had it all. She had the perfect husband, 2 little girls, Bella and Celeste. But what no one could see from the outside looking in was that things weren't really so perfect, and Shanan's husband, Chris, wanted out. Now let's go back a little bit and talk about the family history. In 2010, Shanan was coming out of a heartbreaking and very messy divorce, and she was just trying to get her life back on track. She had a series of really bad health problems going on, and she was eventually diagnosed with lupus. Shanan said with a messy divorce behind her and a very scary new prognosis ahead of her, she was in a very dark place, and the last thing on her mind was jumping into another relationship. In a 2018 social media post, Shanan shared the story of how her and Chris met and began dating. She said that she had gotten a friend request from Chris on Facebook, and she was not interested in anything, but she accepted it thinking, well, we can be Facebook friends. I have thousands of Facebook friends. And then she said, quote, "One thing led to another, and 8 years later, we have 2 kids. We live in Colorado, and he is the best thing that has ever happened to me." End quote. So on November 3rd, 2012, Chris and Shanan got married in Charlotte, North Carolina, and it was a pretty small, intimate wedding. They were surrounded by just close friends and family. In 2013, the newlyweds relocated to the town of Frederick, Colorado, and soon they were wanting to grow their family, but Shanan had been told she would likely never be able to conceive. But with the help of fertility treatments, they were able to have 2 beautiful daughters. Bella was born first in 2014, and 1 year later, Celeste, or Cece as they call her, was born. Both girls were kind of considered like modern medical miracles, given Shanan's past medical history. Then, in 2015, Chris and Shanan filed for bankruptcy because they were about $480,000 in debt. I think the financial stress really started to cause increase her net income by constantly promoting Thrive's health and wellness benefits. It was also at this point that Chris lost about 45 pounds. He began working out. He was feeling really good, and he became more confident. And then this confidence kind of led him to begin cheating on his wife. In 2018, Shanan finds out she is expecting their third child. She has this huge social media following, and she ends up doing a Facebook Live while she tells the news to her husband. Now Chris was a very introverted person, and right now every single moment of his life is out there for the world to see. But this was different. This wasn't, okay, we're gonna have a baby, let's tell everyone together. This was Shanan telling her husband, and then him having to react while thousands of people watched. He says that he's very excited, but I've watched this video. It's not super convincing to me. I'm not sure if Chris Watts wanted another child with Shanan. In fact, what no one knew at the time was that the marriage between Chris Watts and Shanan was very turbulent, and when this pregnancy announcement came along, it kind of added fuel to the fire. After the pregnancy announcement, Chris completely shuts down. He became very cold and withdrawn, and wouldn't even really talk to Shanan. Shanan told a friend how angry and sad she was to be having another baby with a man who seemed to have zero interest in having another child. He wouldn't even go to her doctor's appointments with her, not even like the ultrasound when you find out the sex of the baby, and this is usually a pretty exciting appointment. According to friends of Chris, he felt like Shanan was very controlling, very demanding, and she insisted that he take part in this whole social media life that she was creating. He had to look the part, he had to act a certain way, and he really kind of began to resent his wife for this. By the end of June, Shanan took her girls to North Carolina to stay with a family, and she ended up staying there for 6 weeks. While she was there, she told her mother that, they were having a lot of problems. She kind of filled her mother in on everything that was happening. She was spending a lot of her time out there reading self-help books, and she would even buy some on Amazon and then ship them to Colorado for her husband to read. So he would get these packages from Amazon of these self-help books and marriage counseling books, and he would just throw them away. So at this time, Chris is still at their home in Colorado, and one of Shanan's texts to her husband during this time said, quote, "I try to give you space, but while you are working and living the bachelor life, I'm carrying our third and fighting with our 2 kids daily, trying to work and make money. It's not hard texting, love you, miss you. If you don't mean it, then we need to talk. I keep looking at my phone all night and no response from you. Like, seriously, we didn't just start dating yesterday. We have been together for 8 years, and we have 2.5 kids together." She also kind of very casually asks if he could possibly be having an affair, and that's why he's acting like this. Shanan tells her friend, yeah, I already thought about that, but he completely denied it. So Shanan goes on this business trip to Phoenix from August 10th to August 12th, and while she's gone, Chris has the girls. Shanan must have been pretty suspicious of her husband cheating on her at this point, because she kind of begins doing some detective work while she's out of town. Honestly, my guess is Shanan had been keeping very close tabs on Chris even before this trip. However, while she is in Arizona, she notices a $62 charge made at the Lazy Dog Bar and Grill that Saturday night. So she calls Chris and she confronts him. She's like, why are you eating dinner at like a bar when you're home with the kids? And he says, well, some of his friends had wanted to go to a Colorado Rockies game, so he got a sitter and went with them, and he ordered like salmon and beer, so that's why it was so expensive when they stopped to eat after the game. But Chris had not been at a Colorado Rockies game. He was out whining and dining his mistress. And usually Chris had kind of gotten away with this for a while because he would take his girlfriend to eat at places where he had company gift cards to. So Shanan was never able to piece it together, but it seems like at this point he no longer cared if Shanan found out about it or not. The next day was Sunday, August 12th, and Shanan was due to arrive home pretty late, around 11 p.m. So Chris puts the girls to bed, and according to him, Bella kept waking up and going into his room, hoping her mom was home, and he kept putting her back to bed, and finally he was like, look, Bella, you're gonna have to wait to see mommy in the morning. But sadly, 4-year-old Bella would not live to see the morning. Shanan got home late in the early morning hours of August 13th. Her friend and business partner, Nicole Atkinson, dropped Shanan off around 1:40 a.m. And that would be the last time anyone would ever see Shanan alive. Later that morning, it seemed like just a normal day for Chris Watts. He woke up, he went to work around 5:30. He acted totally normal, so no one would have suspected the dark secret he was keeping. Chris worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum, and he had texted a colleague of his the night before to let him know he planned on arriving at the work wrong. So she drives to their home, and she sees that Shanann's car is still in the garage. She's banging on the door, she's ringing the doorbell, and no one's answering. So she decides to call the police and request a welfare check. Law enforcement arrived, and Nicole is really upset. She tells police that the two of them had gotten home late from a business trip, and she had dropped Shanan off around 2 a.m. She tells them that she is 15 weeks pregnant, and she hadn't been feeling well, while they had been on their business trip. She said she was very distraught. She wasn't eating or drinking. She is having marital issues, and then she tells them that she just found out from Chris Watts that morning that they had decided to separate the night before. Nicole is telling officers to go in, just go in and make sure she's okay, but they're like, look, we need permission, we can't just enter the house. But they are going around knocking on windows and doors to see if they could see anything suspicious. But Nicole knows everything is not fine. Shanann's car is in the garage. Her favorite shoes that she wears everywhere are visible just inside the front door. She knows that Shanan was possibly diabetic but had been having some blood sugar issues, and she's worried that she's in the home and something is very wrong with her and she can't get up to answer the door. A neighbor, aware of the sudden police activity near his home, asks police what's going on. One of the officers ends up calling Chris, who says, Shanan, she took our kids to a friend's house, so I'm not super concerned, but they're saying, look, we need to make sure she's okay. Can we have the keypad to your garage? And is it okay if we enter the home? Chris says, look, the keypad to the house is broken, but I'm about 5 minutes away, so I'll be there soon. While they're waiting for Chris to arrive, the two Frederick police officers lean in to have a private conversation about a concern. See, one of the officers had spoken with this curious neighbor, a neighbor who happened to have a security system that pointed right at the Watts home, and he told officers that Shanan had not left, like he had gone in, he had reviewed his security footage, and Shanan had never left the home. A few minutes after law enforcement arrived, Chris arrived, and he gives them permission to go inside. They enter the home through the garage, and one of the first things officers notice is the front door is deadbolted from the inside. As police walk through the home with Chris, his cell phone is pinging and ringing nonstop. And police officers at first are thinking, everyone, the news is spreading, everyone's hearing about Shanan, and they're just texting Chris. But actually, most of these texts and calls were from Chris's girlfriend, a woman named Nikki, and we'll talk about her in a minute. Police begin searching through the home, and Chris walks outside where he just kind of nervously paces. But the home was completely empty. They did find some suspicious items inside the home. They found Shanann's purse, her phone, and her keys, and these were suspicious because if she had left to go anywhere, she would have taken these things. Chris ends up coming back inside the home, and he's kind of searching it with police, and he Police would note how calm and talkative Chris was throughout this entire sweep of the home. Another suspicious thing found inside the home was the girls' medication they needed. Inside the garage, they found Shanann's car, this Lexus SUV, with Bella and Cece's car seats still strapped in. Also found in her car was the garage door opener. Now remember, the keypad is broken. The front door is bolted from the inside. So if she would have left the home, she would have needed to take her garage door opener. That would be the only way she would have been able to leave and close the garage door. According to Chris, Shanan had been planning on taking the kids to play with a friend, so her car being in the garage was very unexpected. Now, they could have left and gone to the friends and then returned, and that would explain why all of their stuff was found inside the house. But it's also possible they never left the house at all. Told police that the night before, he and Shanan had a very emotional conversation when he had told his wife he wanted to leave her. When police searched the home, it wasn't really what was left behind that raised the most eyebrows. It was what was missing. The bed sheets on Chris and Shanann's bed were missing. The bed had been completely stripped. Some sheets were found in their trash can, but the entire set was not found in the home. Police are asking Chris where he thinks they may have gone. They're asking if there's been any big, money withdrawals from the bank. And he's like, look, I don't know. She does all of our financial stuff. I don't even know how to look at that. Police are outside in the driveway at this point, and they are grilling Chris. And the more he talks, the more unlikely his story becomes. At one point, one of the officers leans over to the other officer and tells him to turn on his body camera. They know something suspicious is going on, and they want a record of everything Chris is saying. In the back of his truck, they find a fire extinguisher, a large hose, a shovel, a gas can, and several old tools. Now these could just be normal, oil-filled worker tools, or they could be tools used by a killer. Police canvassed the neighborhood, asking anyone if they noticed anything suspicious, and they're also trying to gather any available home security footage from the neighborhood. Now there is one neighbor who has a camera that's pointed kind of directly at the Watts home. But his truck, the neighbor's truck, was parked in front of it, and it did obscure a lot of the view. They do see Chris backing his truck up into the garage the morning before he leaves for work. No other cars come to the home. No one else is seen coming or going. This neighbor tells police something kind of interesting. He tells them that Chris actually has a really bad temper and that things had been pretty bad in the weeks leading up to Shanann's disappearance. Also, you can see Chris backing his truck up into his garage that morning. From his ring bell, you can see him doing that. From the Watts ring bell, but from the neighbor's vantage point, you can see Chris making 3 trips back and forth from the garage to the truck. his truck by walking back and forth from the garage to his truck, which was always parked on the street. He said he never backed the truck up into the garage because he didn't want this work truck leaking oil onto their, perfect driveway. That evening, Chris is asked to go in to be questioned. During his interview, he's nervous. He's shifting around in the chair a lot, especially when he is confronted with some inconsistencies in his story. During this interview, he refers to Bella, Cece, and Shanan in past tense, as if he knows they're dead. He exhibits a variety of subtle behavior changes that indicate to police he's lying. On the next day, August 14th, the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, or CBI, joins the case. That same day, Chris would get in front of local news cameras and plead for his family's safe return. He said, quote, "I have no inclination of where they are right now. I've exhausted every friend I know of, and every friend that I have called has called friends that Shanan has that I don't, and no one knows where she is. It's like she vanished." A reporter first asked him when he realized they were missing, and he says that he had texted her a few times throughout the day, and he hadn't gotten any responses, but, they had this emotional conversation the night before, and so it wasn't until her friend went to the home that he knew something was off. Then the reporter says, "Is it unusual that Shanan didn't take the girls to school this morning?" And Chris says, quote, "Yeah, 'cause Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday, and they were just getting ready to start back again," end quote. So he is talking to the media in past tense, not Bella will start school Monday. Bella is supposed to, but Bella was going to. So this is the first time that Chris is in front of the cameras. His family has been missing for about 24 hours at this point, and many people were quick to point out that Chris isn't wearing his wedding ring during this interview. It is also pointed out that he is, again, using the past tense to describe his daughters going back to school. In the meantime, police are searching the Watts home. Chris has given them permission to do a full search. Police also pulled the GPS from Chris's work truck, and it showed that on the morning Shanan went missing, Chris drove to work. So this isn't weird. Chris going to work does not raise a lot of suspicions, but because his family is missing, they decide to go search the area where Chris was that morning, because this is an oil field. It's kind of like a desolate land. All this is going on, and a woman shows up at the police station to tell investigators that she is Chris Watts' girlfriend. The woman's name is Nikki Kessinger, and she worked with Chris. They had been dating all summer long. She knew that he was married and had children, but according to her, Shanan and Chris were separated, or that's what Chris had told her, and history and her text messages, which, by the way, she deleted before coming forward to police, would tell a very different story. Nikki had Google searched the phrases, "The man I am having an affair with says he'll leave his wife." That day, she also searched for over 2 hours looking for a wedding dress online. Then she also does several searches about men who have actually married their mistresses. After Shanan went missing, and it became public knowledge that Chris was kind of a suspect, Nikki did hours and hours of searches for Shanan's name and can cops trace text messages. So it really does seem like Nikki is trying to hide how involved she was with Chris and hide the fact that she fully knew this guy was married. After all of this went down, Shanan and the kids are missing. Chris's girlfriend also does searches for Amber Fry, and remember, Amber Fry was Scott Peterson's mistress, and I will link that video up above. I just covered that case last week. She also was interested in how much money Amber Fry got for her book deal. Back at the police station, Chris has submitted to a polygraph. The woman giving him the polygraph came in, and she's a very good cop. She knew what she was doing, but she kind of played dumb. She kind of flirted with him a little bit. She asks him, what's going on. She has him repeat his entire story, even though she's been in, since day one on this case, but she's trying to catch him in a lie. She's kind of giggling with him, a little bit flirting. I think she's trying to bring his guard down. Very good cop in this situation. And then she's like, at the end of this, I'll know if you're lying, but you would be very stupid to have come in here to take a polygraph if you're in any way involved in your family's disappearance. So they administer the polygraph. She asks Chris a few questions, and he fails miserably. They inform Chris that they know he's being deceitful, and he just insists that he is not. Then officers just begin hammering Chris Watts. They point out inconsistencies in his story. They point out that their $500,000 home was extremely secure. Nobody could have gotten in, and also there's all these neighborhood cameras. No one came to pick up Shanan. Where is she? And I think at this point, Chris knows he's not going to be able to just walk out that door and live out his life with Nikki. So he is like, look, I'm having an affair. I was cheating on my wife. That's why I failed the polygraph. I have been lying to you. This is what I have been lying to you about. And police are like, yeah, we know. We've talked to Nikki. We have the text messages between you two. And this really throws Chris off. He is losing control of the conversation, of the lies, of everything. So he asks to speak to his dad. Now he had picked his dad up from the airport. He had flown in from North Carolina to help search for the kids and be there to support his son. So police allow his father into the room and they leave, but there He's like really lowering his voice, and he admits to his father that he killed Shanan. He says that she got home the night before, and he had a very emotional conversation where he said, "Look, I want a divorce. I want to separate." And Shanan took this news pretty horribly. He said that he went down into the basement for a while, and when he came back up, he saw on the baby monitor Shanan was strangling their daughter, and by the time he got upstairs, both of the girls were dead, and so he, quote, freaked out and killed Shanan, end quote. After confessing to his father, Chris then tells police the same story, and he tells them where he put the bodies. He gets this picture of the oil field and he kind of marks it up. And that night at 11 p.m., police began to excavate the dirt, and they found Shanan right away. Shanan and her unborn son had been buried in a shallow grave. She had been strangled, but there were not any kind of defensive marks, so it was very possible that she had been strangled in her sleep, and she was so maybe exhausted from her trip and her pregnancy that she never knew what was happening. She never woke up. The bodies of Bella and Cece would not be able to be recovered that same night. Chris had admitted to putting their bodies into an oil tank. They had been put into an oil tank hatch, and the opening to this hatch was so small that police didn't believe that he could have fit their bodies through the opening. However, they began draining these tanks, and Bella and Cece were eventually found. I am not going to go into detail about the condition of their bodies, but you can imagine. Both girls were also found to have been smothered to death. Cece, like her mother, seemed to have slept through it. She had no signs of defensive wounds, but Bella had fought for her life. These murders are tragic, no doubt, but investigators said the way that he had discarded their bodies, the callousness of it all. How does a father and husband do that? Usually when a family member kills another family member, they try to give them like some dignity in their burial, but Shanan had just been tossed in the ground and his daughters were shoved through a hatch. Chris ended up sticking to his story for a long time that Shanan had killed the girls, not him, until early November when, in order to avoid the death penalty, Chris pled guilty to killing his daughters, Bella and Celeste, his wife Shanan, and their unborn son, who Shanan was planning to name Nico. Shanan's mother had actually been very supportive of Chris being offered a deal. She said that, quote, he made the decision to take those lives. I do not want to be in the position to have to decide whether or not to take his. So she did not want the death penalty to be an option for Chris, which I think says a lot about her character. Chris Watts is now in prison in Wisconsin. Why Wisconsin and not Colorado? Well, there were concerns about his safety being in a Colorado prison because he was a child murderer and it had happened The other inmates were not just going to let Chris live this easy life in prison, so Colorado taxpayers had to pay to have Chris transferred to a Wisconsin prison. He was sentenced to 5 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole. And that was the story of the Watts family murders. This is such a tragic story. What really, really angers me, on top of everything else, is that Chris tried to pin the murders of his daughters on his dead wife. Like, even in her death, he was trying to make her look bad. I really don't understand in situations like this. We just talked about Scott Peterson last week. There's a lot of similarities. Expecting a baby that they don't want, kind of wanting out of their marriage, having girlfriends on the side. Why these men don't realize divorce is an option, and why they think they're smart enough to get away with a murder, it just baffles me. I really don't know how a father could kill his children and then dispose of their bodies the way he did. I read a lot of information while researching this case that talked about the condition of Bella and Cece, and it was heartbreaking. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, please let me know what you think in this case. I'll see you soon.